Hello, everybody. I'm running a little late today because I was all ready to go this morning. I had my computer fired up, I had the Zoom window open, and I was ready to start recording. And then I got calls, telephone calls from neighbors whose houses I had built or remodeled or something like that. And it's now in the afternoon, and I've taken care of all of those issues and a couple of extras and been to the dentist. So let's just see. Maybe we can make this one a little bit shorter this week. We're in the the last week of Scorpio. So perhaps instead of doing the focus on, getting ourselves all prepped and decluttered from all the Scorpio dictates of things that are helpful for the process of going through Scorpio, let's just say that we've already made the determination what it is that we wanted to leave behind as no longer valuable to us. And now we're in the last week of Scorpio. This would be a good time to focus on the rebirthing part of that equation. Death and rebirth, remember, two sides. The rebirth, waking up, uh, basically discovering what it is that is new and wants to participate with us in the adventure of what it means to be alive, being birthed into. And so from the astrological perspective, there's a couple things going on today, which is Monday. There's the waning grand trine that is taking place with the moon, which moves pretty quick. It's probably already got to the point where I might not generally consider it, but it's a fairly dynamic grand trine that we ought to take a look at, as long as we're going to talk about this. And here it is. The grand trine. How do we move this window? Nope, that's not moving the window. Okay, we won't worry about that little detail. Let's get us here so we can see ourselves. Now, the grand trine. Here it's the Sun and Mercury and Venus are in trine to the Neptune and Jupiter over here in Pisces. And what was forming the trine, though perhaps just a little brief, is this moon down here in, it just went into Leo this morning, but it was cruising through those last degrees of Cancer. And when it did, it basically trined these guys and these guys. So, and making this grand trine, you can kind of see the the thinness of these aspects here, whereas the ones that are up here between Pisces and Scorpio are still fairly strong. Yes, but the moon is moving on into Leo. The dance of life. Part of that rebirthing process, if we're really tuned into it, that lunar part of the equation right now is saying, take chances. Be alive. Don't hold back. The world is your stage. Are you ready to perform? And that's a kind of energy that this day, for the next 2.5 days, is going to be on the table for us as we go through this rebirthing consideration. And I should, we'll just move the chart ahead. I'll show you what I'm talking about that is going to have a big influence on this rebirthing process. Okay, there's Tuesday. You'll notice that Mercury and Venus, Mercury is chasing Venus right now. It's actually very close to Venus. Venus on Wednesday jumps across this borderline into Sagittarius. That's part of the tools that I'm thinking about as being able to tune into as a way to recognize the something new in as part of the rebirthing experience to pay attention to. Sagittarius is go for it. It's also one of the planets that right now Mercury you can kind of see is in a nice dynamic trine to almost an exact trine here on Wednesday. Trine is an opportunity. And it's across the water axis of Scorpio and Pisces. Scorpio can play as an intuitive tool, among other things. And Pisces is like, it's well beyond intuitive. It's actually tapping into what does it mean to connect with source. And, when you're at that level of energetic enfold, then, you don't really have to spend a lot of time or energy aiming toward intuition. It's more of a knowing. Intuition is kind of like it's a kick up of those feelings. Your base feelings like Cancer level experience. Well, the energy of Pisces, ruler of Pisces, Jupiter, in this trine experience is saying, yes, Scorpio, you have that intuitive capacity, percolating right now, and I appreciate it. I don't know necessarily whether it's required from the Piscean level. And from Jupiter's perspective, it's kind of like the energy kick up of what it is that Pisces stands for, being infused with his Jupiterian energy, is like, the awareness factor. Not just intuition, but awareness, a knowing. I don't have to sense it as a possibility, intuit it. I just know it. Anyway, that's what's happening. And then the very next day, what do we have? Mercury comes dancing across that line into Sagittarius. How we think and how we communicate, how we perceive things. It's just, and it's basically traveling in conjunction with Venus. The process of what is of value from the Venusian perspective, as well as how inclusive can I be in that valuation process of others as epitomal, necessary parts of how value is determined. Think about that. Mercury, now, the rebirthing process that is on the table for us this week. You can kind of see we're already at Thursday. The waning cycle. You've got 5 more degrees of Scorpio to go. So essentially it's Monday, I believe. Well, it's Tuesday of next week. The sun is actually going to shift from Scorpio into Sagittarius. And by then, what we all hope is that you have discovered that rebirthing process in your matrix, in the makeup of who you want to be, as opposed to who you used to be. That is what is on the table. Anyway, Mercury and Venus in conjunction. I suspect if I go ahead, let's see what we have here. On that same day that the sun comes dancing on into Sagittarius, Mercury and Venus are going to be in the same degree, tight together. It's a conjunction. It's at work. You have to ask yourself, am I tuned in enough at the level of values and with my connection to others, this is the Venus factor, to actually be able to engage in conversations which in Sagittarius fashion really have no limits. Because Sagittarius is really about the process of always going for more. And so you may think, with some of our, physical plane mental capacities, we may think we often reach plateaus of awareness where, I've gone as far as I can go. that is not Sagittarius. Sagittarius says, oh, but there's more. And when the sun comes into Sagittarius next week, do keep your seatbelts fastened, because the more will be beckoning. Yes, indeed it will. But with the Mercury-Venus conjunction already stimulating the ingredients of this pie of life that we are making, are you limiting yourself? You got to ask yourself this. This is an important question. Am I providing enough latitude in what it is that I believe myself to be, that I also have enough fortitude to be able to go on the Sagittarian quest to discover what more is there? This is the energy that is coming into play as this week wraps towards its end cycle. We have a couple other aspects that actually perfect. One is this square between Mars and Neptune right here. Mars retrograde and Neptune retrograde. From Gemini to Pisces. So Mars, the ruler of Aries, yes, we know this, but also the ruler of Scorpio. It's backing up. It's asking us to, from the scorpionic perspective, aim to not just retrace our steps, but do some reconsiderations. It's in that mercurial place of Gemini as to what is it that this adventure through Scorpio is trying to or attempting to teach me. And am I paying attention to those lessons with enough understanding to actually be able to utilize the adventure of diving deeper into life's mysteries? And in that format, am I open enough to allow those mysterious factors to alter what it is that I perceive about myself and, of course, about others, because that is always in the mix in that Scorpio realm. That intuition, the insight that we glean when we tune into somebody else's energy, that sometimes it's wise to keep our mouth closed about what it is we perceive, whereas at other times it could be just the appropriate invitation for not only just the other but ourselves to both grow from. This is part of the mysteries of life. This is part of that Scorpio scenario that has been at work. Okay. That square that's happening between it lingers. It's one of those lingering squares, and squares are, there's a tension in there, and it's because there's 90 degrees in between. We have a water sign and an air sign. Air is like mental machinations, the thoughts, just, and in Gemini, what else is there that I need to learn? What else is tickling the follicles of my imagination that I must, look into? And the Piscean perspective is like, hold your horses there, youngster. You're trying to, stir something up that doesn't need as much stirring as you're trying to give it. Because from the Piscean perspective, from that unlimited frontier of imagination, which is definitely a Piscean vehicle. It's already known. There's a lot of different ways I could play that, but I'm going to hold back on it because I'm trying to keep this thing short today. Anyway, that's Saturday. Sunday, it's like we have another trine that's formed in between the sun up here in Scorpio and, of course, our Jupiter again. That solar impetus, the capacity of expressing regal versions of things. This is the sun in trine with that Jupiter down there in Pisces. There's a high road and possibly a low road, though I'm not going to spend any time delving into the low road factors, but the high road factor of the rebirthing process that is available should we make the determination to take that step across the threshold into a new realm. That's what's being asked of us here. And the sun in trine to Jupiter down there in Pisces. The angels currently are, they're all cheering and they're beckoning your participation at a much more profound level of awareness. Can you hear them? Can you sense their presence? You can almost hear those voices, all in unison. Rebirth yourself. There's something quite magical waiting for you to discover about your soul personality. Are you tuned into that? Can you hear that throb of a call from the angels saying, come on up, the weather's fine. There's some things that we would like to show you that you have been holding yourself back from. We know you're ready. You've always been ready. Do you recognize it? Because if you do, you will hear us. And there's more that's just waiting for you to grow into. Okay, that's all I'm going to provide for this week. I got into a art exploration process with one of my friends who lives on one of the Canary Islands right now, who is he's set up a scenario whereby, not like what Bob Ross, who goes through and shows you how to paint happy clouds and delightful trees and bushes and majestic mountains reaching up to the sky, deep blue waters of creativity. This is more of a kind of an invitation to be in an artistic zone where creativity can be allowed to flow. There's no particular overt design that says that we're going to make something. It's more like you get a group of artists together, people who are tuned into whatever form of art it happens to be, because those are all inclusive in this process that we're going through, and see what develops. Put some color on your brush, or take a colored pencil, touch it to your drawing surface, see where it's going to go. allow that, allow those angels that are sitting there trying to get your attention to come through, take hold of your being and say, we would like to express something through you. Are you on board with this? Because if you are, just get out of the way. Not completely out of the way. Just allow something divine to flow through you. And the reason I include this is because the image that I'm going to post with the video recordings is the first, it's where I've gone to so far with my first image that has showed up. I'm calling it Portal. And you will see when you see the image. Anyway, that's it for this week. And see you all next week. We'll be in Sagittarius very quickly next week. I can feel that questy energy. It's just percolating in me already. It's saying, I'm gone through the rebirthing process. I feel a newness of life just wanting to erupt on so many levels. Anyway, ciao.